This mutant almost took the life of Charles Xavier as a boy and wiped out the whole town as an adult. Who's Matthew Malloy? We're about to find out in this video. To start off, Matthew Malloy appeared in Uncanny X-Men issue 23, 2014. So when Matthew was a child, Charles Xavier visited him. When Charles tried to talk to him, Matthew brought his toy dinosaurs to life while he was playing with them, causing destruction with his uncontrollable powers. Charles had to protect himself, and he admitted himself that if it wasn't for his powers, he would have died. As a solution, Xavier telepathically manifested himself into a boy Matthew's age to talk to him. Come to find out, Matthew accidentally erased his parents from existence and destroyed his home. To further make sure an incident like that didn't occur again, Charles had to put mental blocks into his mind to suppress his abilities, which he admitted goes against everything he stands for. But Matthew was so dangerous that his powers could wipe out towns and cities by accident. When Matthew grew older and he's in high school, Xavier went to see him again and took the appearance of a high school kid. But Matthew right away saw through the illusion, even with his mental blocks Xavier placed in his head years prior. So Charles stopped the illusion and had to talk with Matthew, explaining to him that he's a mutant. On top of that, Xavier admitted that he wished he could have helped Matthew more, but his powers were too much to control. Matthew came up with something that even shocked Xavier, which he wanted him to end his life, but Charles couldn't put himself to do it. The only solution on the table for both parties is for Matthew to have the mental blocks to prevent him from accidentally causing more damage. But those mental blocks would disappear when Xavier died in the Avengers vs. X-Men event thanks to Cyclops being possessed by the Phoenix Force. Later into his adulthood, Matthew lived with his wife Jules in Charleston, South Carolina. Everything was good and peaceful until the Skrull invasion. So Matthew witnessed Jules getting off by an energy blast from a Skrull ship. As Matthew was about to suffer the same fate as Jules, he was saved by the shield helicarrier that flew over him and blew the Skrull's head off. A year passed and Matthew moved to Newberry, South Carolina. Alana, which is Jules' sister and Matthew's former sister-in-law, came across Matthew. She asked if Matthew remembered her and still treated him like he was still her brother even after the death of Jules, and tried to comfort him that he still has family around. This actually backfired as all the memories and trauma of Jules' death awakened Matthew's mutant abilities and it spiraled out of control. A big wave of energy manifested from Matthew and he vaporized everything and everyone around him, including Alana. So say goodbye to Newberry, South Carolina. Matthew stood still in a big ass sinkhole trying to wrap his mind around what just happened moments ago. Maria Hill approached him using a robotic drone to keep a safe distance and question him if he was responsible for all this destruction around him and if he is a mutant. With everything that just occurred, it was too much for Matthew and Maria couldn't calm him down, so she sent a strike team immediately after Matthew. In hindsight, this was not the best idea as it's going to make things even worse than it already is, so Matthew vaporized the whole strike team with his uncontrollable powers. The next plan of action was to call in one of the most powerful telepaths and a mutant named Exodus, but even that didn't work and Matthew fried his brain effortlessly and killed him. The X-Men later arrived in the helicarrier and Rachel Summers tried to calm Matthew down by pretending to be Charles Xavier and used illusions of other heroes such as the Avengers, but Matthew saw through the illusion and split the helicarrier in half while keeping everyone that was on it safe with his telepathic bubbles. Magic and Cyclops teleported themselves to Matthew's location so Cyclops could try to talk to him and relate with him, but at this time his mentality was more radical like Magneto's mindset back then, and the actual Magneto now is more calm and less radical. You guys and girls can tell by the white outfit he was wearing at the time of the comic. Back to Matthew, he started to lose his composure after the first time him and Cyclops talked, which led to Magic teleporting both of them away from Matthew. After the energy wave, Cyclops wanted to go back to talk to Matthew and Magic was basically telling Scott hell nah. His quick speech convinced her to teleport back to Matthew's location. In the second attempt of trying to talk to Matthew, Magneto appeared and called Cyclops out of his real motives in trying to talk to Matthew. To make it short and sweet from Magneto's perspective, Cyclops basically wanted to use Matthew as an asset in case any threat tried to test the strength of the X-Men and all mutant kind, to bring fear to humanity that tries anything to threaten mutants. Cyclops tries to make a comeback and mention Magneto's flaws, including him being the reason Charles Xavier is, or at this point in time, was in a wheelchair. This resulted in Matthew sending Magneto away, and right after, their conversation was ruined again as S.H.I.E.L.D. sent an airstrike Matthew's way, leading to his death, Cyclops' death, and Magic's death. But it didn't work out as Matthew resurrected and off the people in S.H.I.E.L.D. instantly. He headed to the Jean Grey school, and Emma Frost, being emotional over Cyclops' death, confronts Matthew and he accidentally took her life too. This resulted in the rest of the X-Men trying to attack Matthew, and Matthew just wiped them out instantly. With no other solution to get a hand of the situation, a fellow mutant and X-Man named Tempest went back in time along with a younger version of Charles Xavier to the exact moment Matthew's parents met. Charles had to use his telepathy to prevent Matthew's parents from ever meeting each other, which helped prevent the deaths of all the people that Matthew killed. Now let's move on to his abilities and skills. To start off, he has telepathy, telekinesis, energy projection, instant teleportation, he can manipulate matter/reality, and he can self-resurrect himself. Moving on to nerd facts. If there was a level or levels above Omega level mutant, that's Matthew. As Charles Xavier admitted, Matthew is the largest mutant power source Cerebro ever registered. Keep in mind though, this was before House's event where Scarlet Witch just changed everything and said no more mutants. Next nerd fact is he was compared to be as powerful as the Phoenix, Apocalypse, Franklin Richards, and Onslaught. Another reason Charles Xavier was scared of Matthew is that Matthew's powers were so strong, he couldn't even use his powers to paralyze him and put him to sleep when he was 8 years old. Moving on to my personal thoughts, even though he is powerful, Matthew Malloy isn't that interesting to me. It would have been cool if they fleshed out his background, but they had to end the story off with just time travel and then that was it. Everybody just basically forgets about him, unless Marvel just somehow brings him back to life without his parents doing the deed for him to be born in the first place. Until that possibility happens, that's basically it for Matthew Malloy. If you guys have stuck this long into the video, you're the best. I really appreciate it. Besides all that, be sure to like, subscribe, and turn on post notifications. If you want to support the channel even more, my links will be down in the description box below. And I'll see you guys later. Peace.